Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to Weekly GCap, the only source you'll ever need to catch up on all the gaming news from the last week. We have quite a couple stories to go through. In fact, I think this might be the most packed show that we've had up to this point. However, a lot of these are simply just like release dates announcements or new game announcements. Without further ado, let's just go ahead and get right into this. First things first, the Alone in the Dark release date was announced. This coming from Gamatsu. Quote, the Alone in the Dark reboot will launch for PlayStation 5, Xbox Series, and PC via Steam and GOG on October 25th for $59.99. So thankfully, this isn't going to be another $70 release. Publisher THQ Nordic and developer PCs Interactive announced digital pre-orders are available now. So if you want to go pre-order it a while, then you're totally able to do so. Unfortunately, I don't have a PS5 or a Series S or X yet, so I won't be able to get this one. However, once I do get one of those consoles, this is a game that I plan to pick up because I've been pretty excited about this one for a while now. And for our next story, the Infinity Stash Dragon Quest Dai release date was announced. This is coming from the Dragon Quest Twitter account. Quote, Infinity Stash Dragon Quest, The Adventure of Dai, coming September 28th, 2023 to PS5, PS4, Switch, PC, and Xbox Series X and S, so it'll be coming to all the platforms, including Switch. This is one that I'll be picking up. I am a huge Dragon Quest fan. It honestly makes me really happy to see how much mainstream attention that this series has been getting lately. I've loved these games for years, and this new one looks absolutely fantastic, so I will be picking it up as soon as possible. And for our next story, this game I'm actually really interested in, which we'll talk about. So the WrestleQuest release date was announced. This coming from Gamatsu. Quote, RPG WrestleQuest will launch for PlayStation 5, PlayStation 4, Xbox Series, Xbox One, Switch, PC via Steam, and iOS and Android via Netflix on August 8th. Publisher Skybound Games and developer Megacat Studios announced the iOS and Android releases are newly announced. So yeah, that's pretty interesting. It'll be coming to iOS and Android via Netflix. I wonder how that's gonna work, but essentially, if you don't know what WrestleQuest is, it's like a turn-based RPG, but it's a wrestling game, so it seems like a pretty interesting concept. It's definitely not like anything I've seen before, so I'll definitely be checking this one out. And for our next story, this one's really I keep saying and for our next story, but I should probably just instead be saying like and for our next release date announcement, because that's what so many of these are, but it's just a habit at this point. That's my thing. And for our next story. But anyway, the Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart PC release date was announced. This is coming July 26th. They put up a trailer with like a bunch of new features and stuff like that. You're seeing it on your screen right now. You know, I'm excited for this. I'm glad that PC players are getting this. I just hope for PC players' sake that this doesn't come out like The Last of Us Part 1 just a couple of months ago, because don't get me wrong, The Last of Us Part 1, it's a great remaster of The Last of Us and is an amazing game, but the state that the PC version came out in was just completely unacceptable. All the different bugs and performance issues and models glitching out, it was a mess. So fingers crossed that this game comes out, you know, actually complete and, you know, ready to go. And for our next story, once again, this is another release. And what did I tell you guys? This was a huge week for new game announcements and release dates, etc. So the Double Dragon Gaiden release date was announced. It is going to be coming out July 27th, 2023 on all of the platforms: PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Series X and S, Switch, and PC. Obviously, we just talked about this game on the show like 2 or 3 episodes ago. I think I was telling you guys like, hey, I'll update you guys when the release date comes out, and here we are. The Double Dragon series is absolutely phenomenal. It's one of those like classic beat 'em up series similar to like Streets of Rage or like TMNT Shredder's Revenge from last year. I always say this when new games like this are announced, but I'm really happy to see this genre making a comeback in recent years. I'm really excited for this game, and I'll definitely be picking it up on day one when it releases July 27th. Next up, the Metal Gear Solid Master Collection Volume 1 was announced. This is coming from the PlayStation Store page for the game. Volume 1 lineup features the original titles and beginning of the Metal Gear series: Metal Gear, Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake, Metal Gear Solid, including VR missions / special missions, Metal Gear Solid 2 Sons of Liberty HD Collection version, Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater HD Collection version. We don't have any more details, we don't have any trailers or anything like that, and considering that, I don't even know. I'm probably just gonna put like the recent MGS3 remake trailer on the screen for you guys just so you have something to watch. But yeah, I'm really excited for this. We don't have any other details or screenshots or anything. Literally just like the store page went up and that was that. We do know that it's coming autumn of this year, and since we're already in June, it means we're halfway through the year. You know, autumn's literally right around the corner, which is crazy for me to say. What we do know is that it's gonna be on the latest platforms, so I'm not sure what that means. Does that mean only PS5, Series X and S, and PC? Does that include Switch? Or the PS4 and Xbox One included? I'm not really sure. As soon as we know, obviously I'll let you guys know, but as of now, we don't have specifics on what platforms those are. And for our next story, the RGG Showcase was announced. This coming from RGG on Twitter. Get ready for RGG Summit Summer 2023, June 15th, 11 p.m. EST and 8 p.m. Pacific time. Stay tuned for live stream details. RGG are the ones behind like Yakuza. These guys always absolutely knock it out of the park with literally every game that they create. So obviously I'm excited to see what they have in store for this showcase. Next up, would you believe me if I said that I had another announcement to come. I told you guys, literally, like, half of the stories this week are just, like, announcements of some kind. But anyway, Days of Play 2023 was announced. This coming from PlayStation blog, quote, Days of Play 2023 will begin on June 2nd at 12:01 a.m. So by the time you're watching this, the sale is live until June 12th at 11:59 p.m. local time in each region. There's going to be sales for games, of course, as well as PlayStation accessories, PlayStation gear, like merch, think like shirts and cups and mugs and stuff like that, as well as 25% off of any PlayStation Plus plan or tier that you choose. That's the main one I wanted to highlight, so if you need to /want to stock up on your PS Plus, I'd highly recommend doing so now while this sale is live. I know I will be. $90 for 1 year PS Plus Premium, I'd say it's worth it. And for our next story, finally, we got through all the announcements and release date reveals and everything like that. Now we're into, you know, the other stories. The Last of Us multiplayer game was delayed. This coming from Naughty Dog, quote, we know many of you have been looking forward to hearing more about our The Last of Us multiplayer game. We're incredibly proud of the job our studio has done thus far, but as development has continued, we realize what is best for the game is to give it more time. Our team will continue to work on the project as well as our other games in development, including a brand new single player experience. We look forward to sharing more soon. We're grateful to our fantastic community for your support. Thank you for your passion for our games. It continues to drive us, end quote. So I say this literally every single time, but bad game forever bad, delayed game eventually good. Don't release it until you're ready, especially with it being a multiplayer game. We have had enough of disastrous multiplayer game launches. I'm looking at you, Battlefield 2042. So yeah, you know, whenever they're ready, you know, I'll wait as long as it takes for them to be ready, you know, especially with it being The Last of Us. The Last of Us is one of my favorite video game IPs, like, ever. So yeah, I definitely would prefer for them to just take their time, put out the game when it's ready, talk about it more when it's ready, but otherwise, yeah, take your time, Naughty Dog. I'll wait for as long as I need to because this is a game that I'm seriously excited for. The Lord of the Rings Gollum released, and yeah, the reviews aren't so great so far. It's sitting at a 35 on Metacritic. I feel like everybody's kind of talked about this one enough, so I don't really know if I need to put my 2 cents in here. In fact, I can't put my 2 cents in here because I haven't played the game yet. If I'm going to be honest, from the reviews I've watched and the gameplay I've watched, it just seems like one of those things where, I don't know, gamers see that one thing is getting negative reviews and then they start to bandwagon on it and then it, like, snowballs into this bigger thing. I mean, like, I don't know. When I see the gameplay, it looks like something I'd play. I'd probably enjoy it. I feel like gamers have a tendency to just be too critical. Like, they expect perfection out of everything. Just shut up and play games, man. I don't know. That's just me. Anyways, for our next story, let's go ahead and talk about, like, the exact opposite situation of that. Let's go ahead and talk about Diablo 4, which is currently sitting at an 88 on Metacritic. I've been heavily anticipating this game for a while. It's no secret that I am a mega Diablo fan. My first game was Diablo 2 many years ago, and then obviously I played the crap out of Diablo 3 back when that launched, and yeah, needless to say, I am heavily anticipating and am very excited for Diablo 4. It's by the time you guys are seeing this video, it's only like 4 short days away. I'll definitely be picking this one up immediately. And while we're talking about high review scores, let's go ahead and talk about one that's getting even higher review scores, that being Street Fighter 6, which is sitting at a 92 on Metacritic. That is insane. I grew up on the Street Fighter series. I absolutely love the games. If I'm gonna be honest, I didn't play too much of 5. It wasn't from, like, a lack of interest or anything like that. Like I said, I grew up on Street Fighter. I absolutely love this series. It's just, yeah, I don't know. I guess I didn't end up playing that one as much for whatever reason. That being said, I've played the crap out of all the other ones, especially like Street Fighter 2 and Street Fighter 4. I played a good bit of Street Fighter 3 back in the day as well, but 2 and 4 are the ones that I go back to really often. So I'm really excited for Street Fighter 6. The new single player mode that they have looks really interesting too. I don't know how all the mechanics are necessarily going to work, but I'm really excited to play it. And for our next story, I just thought this one was kind of funny more than anything. So a tweeter, is that what they're called nowadays, people on Twitter, by the name of Shinobi602 made a tweet just saying, Alan Wake 2 is digital only and will not launch on a physical disc. Remedy says a large number have shifted to digital, and this helps keep the price of the game at $60 and the PC version at $50. And then THQ Nordic responded to this by saying, at Alan Wake, at Remedy Games, I mean, we did the disc version of Alan Wake for PC back in the day, ICYMI, with a winky face, and just because one person or company does not love physical, there is plenty who still do. Give it some thought. We love to go at it again, full circle and all. So, you know, it's crazy to me, like, seeing a publisher, like, defend physical media. Like, you know what I mean? Like, when it comes to, like, big publishers nowadays, that seems like so anti whatever their agenda is, you know, going like all pro digital so then they can have control over like literally everything and prices and all that. But THQ has been one of my favorite publishers ever since I was a little kid. I love their games. I love just them in general. There's just something about the way that THQ or their spokespeople are. I love them. When it comes to like greedy publishers and all these different scandals, like, you know, you don't see THQ wrapped up in all that kind of stuff. So I don't know, just see this, it genuinely made my day seeing a big publisher like this be like, hey, we're down with a physical version. We want a physical version to happen. But seriously, for the folks over at Remedy, I mean, you have a way. THQ is willing to help you make that physical copy, so please do, because me personally, I'm a physical collector. I like owning and purchasing and having physical media of not only games, but just literally anything, whether that be movies, music, video games, anything. Part of it is just because I like to feel like I actually own said thing, but furthermore, it's just, I don't know, there's something about it. I like having that physical thing in my hands, you know what I mean? There's just something about that. I like that. I appreciate that. And furthermore, when it comes to like longevity and preservation and stuff like that, like having a physical copy of something, I mean, it doesn't get much better than that. I'm all about preservation, and I'm really looking forward to Alan Wake 2, and I would prefer to get a physical copy of this game if possible. So Remedy, if you happen to be watching this, or anybody from there happens to be watching this, please take up THQ's offer and please make a physical version of Alan Wake 2. I would love you guys forever. I mean, I'll still love you guys forever. You guys make amazing games, but I love you just like, just a teensy bit more. Anyways, as you guys probably know at this point, I like to fill you guys in whenever there's like updates on subscription services, whether that be Game Pass, PS Plus, yada yada yada. First things first, we have the Xbox Game Pass games for the month of June. These being Car Mechanic Simulator 2021, Slayer's X Terminal Aftermath Vengeance of the Slayer, The Big Con, Amnesia the Bunker, Hypnospace Outlaw, Rune Factory 4, Stacking, and Dordongne. I don't even know how to say that, but yeah, seems like a pretty solid lineup. You know, you may think that I'm kidding, but I will be checking out Car Mechanic Simulator 2021. I'm into games like that. I'll also be downloading Rune Factory 4 because I love Rune Factory. And while we're talking about subscription services, PlayStation ended up revealing the PS Plus Essential games for the month of June, these being NBA 2K23, Jurassic World Evolution 2, and Trek to Yomi, which is the one that I wanted to highlight. In fact, I wanted to highlight it so much that it's probably the trailer you're watching on your screen right now. Trek to Yomi, it was my game of the year for 2022. I have sung and will continue to sing this game's praises time after time after time again because this game is an absolute masterpiece. Please download Trek to Yomi. Just keep in mind, the game is a bit on the tougher side. It's not necessarily like a Souls-like by any means, but it does take some skill. There is a bit of a learning curve to it. That being said, it is absolutely worth it. It is inspired by like, you know, old school black and white Japanese movies. All those like classic Japanese samurai movies from like the 1930s to the 1950s, like stuff like that. This game is an absolute masterpiece, and I highly recommend checking it out. This next story is a little sad. The Mega Man producer ended up leaving Capcom. So this coming from Rockman Corner, quote, Kazuhiro Tsuchiya, I think is how you say it, the producer of the Mega Man series, and more recently, Street Fighter 6 has left Capcom. The news comes to us through Tsuchiya's Twitter profile, which he recently updated to indicate he has moved on from the company. The article then goes on to explain what projects he was involved in, including Mega Man 11, Mega Man X Dive, the Legacy collections, like for the original games a couple of years ago, and then also the recent Legacy collection, that being for the Mega Man Battle Network Legacy collections, which shipped over 1 million units within 2 weeks of its launch, which is still insane. As for what he's doing next, we can find that a bit further down in the article, quote, in late 2018, Tsuchiya announced his intention to start working on a new title with pre-production set for the following year. These plans were formalized by September 2019, although the project has yet to materialize. All indications point to it being the enigmatic Tyson project, which was first mentioned in leaked materials followed by a registry in the NVIDIA GeForce database. The title was originally expected to be released in late 2022. Given the impact of the pandemic on Capcom's production pipeline at the time and subsequent reshuffling release dates for key titles, not to mention management pulling Tsuchiya onto Street Fighter 6, we eagerly await the result of his labor. The sudden re-emergence of a 35th anniversary push has no doubt left fans hopeful. Now, unfortunately, at the time of me recording this, we currently don't have any information on this Tyson project, I think is how you say it, but needless to say, I am very excited for it, just given like everything that he's behind. Like I always say whenever we cover stories like this about people leaving studios, I wish him nothing but the best. Again, he's done so much amazing work over the years at Capcom, so I'll definitely be following him and, you know, keeping up with his work. And for our last stories, it's kind of like 2 stories in one. So the first part, Dolphin was blocked from going to Steam. If you remember a couple episodes ago on the show, we talked about how Dolphin was going to Steam. Unfortunately, that is not going to be the case now. So this is coming from Dolphin directly, quote, it is with much disappointment that we we have to announce that the Dolphin on Steam release has been indefinitely postponed. We were notified by Valve that Nintendo has issued a cease and desist citing the DMCA against Dolphin's Steam page and have removed Dolphin from Steam until the matter is settled. We are currently investigating our options and will have a more in-depth response in the near future, end quote. And before I put my piece on this, let's go ahead and cover like the next part of the story where Nintendo responds to the Dolphin block. This coming from Kotaku, quote, Nintendo is committed to protecting the hard work and creativity of video game engineers and developers. A spokesperson for Nintendo told Kotaku in an email, this emulator illegally circumvents Nintendo's protection measure and runs illegal copies of games. Using illegal emulators or illegal copies of games harms development and ultimately stifles innovation. Nintendo respects the intellectual property rights of other companies and in turn expects others to do the same, end quote. So, the main thing that I wanted to talk about in the response, okay, let's just go ahead and kind of skim back over this. So Nintendo is committed to protecting the hard work and creativity of video game engineers and developers. Isn't that funny? Aren't these the same people that make it impossible to buy old games on like Nintendo Switch, and the only way to get those old games is through their online server? Like you can't even buy these games to own them on Nintendo Switch. If you want to play any games from like the Virtual Console on Switch, you can only do it through NSO or the NSO and expansion pack. And furthermore, that obviously doesn't even include all of the games from said consoles. It's just like, you know, a few highlighted picks that Nintendo wanted to pick out. And furthermore, as if that wasn't enough, you know, not giving consumers even a way to access some of their favorite games aside from the few that they cherry pick to decide to throw into their service. Let's talk about the fact about how they're always delisting their own games, or, you know, only making like limited runs of certain games, because it's no secret that when it comes to like the secondhand market for Nintendo games, yeah, it's pretty overpriced most of the time for like any game that's like a first party Nintendo game. Think like Donkey Kong, Mario, Kirby. Yeah, when you go through like the secondhand market, all of those games are overpriced. And do you want to know why they're overpriced on the secondhand gaming market? And it's because for a lot of those games, there is almost, if not no way to get them from Nintendo like firsthand. Like they don't actually sell those games, so the only way to get them is through the overpriced secondhand gaming market, thus proving right there that Nintendo has done an awful job at, what did they say? Nintendo is committed to protecting the hard work and creativity of video game engineers and developers. Yeah, that is BS, because they have not. They don't do that. They don't protect the hard work. There is not even a way to get some of their first party games unless you get it through a secondhand gaming market, which means right there they have ultimately failed in protecting the hard work of their video game engineers and developers, as they say. Oh, and then you get like, you know, the Super Mario All-Stars releases where, you know, they release it digitally with plans, like they literally say as soon as they announce it that they're going to be pulling it down for some arbitrary reason, or, you know, I can't, like, I'm literally losing words. Then the next part, this emulator illegally circumvents Nintendo's protection measures and runs illegal copies of games. Well, again, we wouldn't have to do that if you just give us the games. The way I see it, you know, I'm not an emulation guy. I'm the type of guy, I'll spend extra, like, literal hundreds of dollars if it means that I can play it on the original hardware, original controller, have the original game. That's just how I am, because I am a collector and I believe in preservation and all of that. That being said, the other way that people tend to try to preserve games is through like, you know, like emulation and ROMs and stuff like that, because again, Nintendo themselves don't actually want to preserve these games, so they leave us no other choice. Now, obviously, piracy and emulation have been, you know, that's existed since the dawn of gaming, okay? Like, that's always been a thing, and it will always be a thing. There will just always be people that try to pirate games or emulate them or do one thing or another. But my point is, they say these things, but they don't mean a lot of what they're saying. Like, again, the part about them being committed to protecting their work and the work of their engineers and developers and stuff like that, because it's simply not true. As a company, yeah, I can understand wanting to fight back against, like, piracy and stuff like that, but at the same time, if you're not actually doing anything from your end to, you know, do anything productive towards that, you know, by, like, reprinting games or actually making them available to your consumers, like, literally at this point, if you want to play some of those games, emulation and piracy is your only option, unless you want to pay, like, thousands of dollars for some of the more rare Nintendo games and stuff like that. But I don't know, that's just my piece on it. Now, don't get the wrong idea. I absolutely adore and love Nintendo. I grew up on Nintendo platforms and games, and to this day, I still play tons of Nintendo platforms and games, okay? I absolutely love Nintendo. I love their IPs. I love the company in general, but I must admit that sometimes when it comes to situations like this, it's just... I don't know. Anytime that it comes to copyright stuff, okay? That's what it's relegated to. I love Nintendo, but when it comes to, like, the way that they handle copyright type stuff, just no. Anyways, yeah, that's all the stories that I got for you guys this week, man. That last one was a doozy. Anyway, what are your thoughts on everything that we talked about today? Whether it's Nintendo blocking the Dolphin emulator, whether it's THQ saying that they'll print physical copies of Alan Wake 2? Are you excited for any of the many games that we talked about earlier in the episode with all the different release dates and announcements and such? Whatever it is, whatever you're thinking, I'd definitely love to hear from you guys. Anyways, yeah, this is Weekly GCap. New episodes go live every single Friday at 9 a.m. Eastern, so if you want to catch them as soon as they go live, well, then now you know when to be here. Anyways, that's it for me, guys. Thank you guys for watching. Have an amazing day and an amazing weekend. Stay beautiful. I love you all. Peace.